And joining me on today's edition of the British Baseball Podcast, I'm happy to have a couple of teammates along with me to talk about the Manchester Baseball Club and its history. I'm joined by Ian Margie Marginson, who is the A's veteran first baseman and former manager. And alongside him, I'm joined by Adam, and he is an outfield villain. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Enjoying this lovely Sunday morning. It's nice weather for a change, but I think it might hit us with a bit of rain in a couple of minutes like it did the other day. It's out of nowhere. So, would you like to give us a bit of an introduction to yourselves? Ian, should we start with you?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think most people in baseball in the UK would know me as Margie. I'm not really sure there's anybody calls me Ian, to be honest.
Sorry.
Because we already had in the club when I first started playing. So I started playing in 2000. Started in my late 20s, having never picked the ball up before. Started off, as I think most people do, as an outfielder. I think I showed my arm off a little bit, and then got moved to third base, and then not very long after that, blew my shoulder out. So got forced out of the third base position, couldn't make the throw anymore, and then retired to second base as we had an opening there. And then getting older, getting bigger, getting slower, full retirement at first base now, and sometimes designated hitter. Always played with the A's. The A's originally, when I started playing, were the second team of the club. And then when a lot of our first team left, we moved the A's up to be the first team. And literally 2 or 3 of us moved up to be with that first team. And I've stuck with the A's all the way through. Lucky enough to have some good highs. Picking up national championships in 2015 and Northern Championships 15, I think it was 18 and 19, I think it was. Though we didn't do great in the playoffs. And now, would have been my 21st season, just sat here waiting, raring to go.
And you, Adam?
Not quite as illustrious a history as Ian, or Margie, should I say. I started, I think this should have been my 4th year, believe it or not. It's kind of flown by. I play outfield for the Bees, and I do all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We've not quite broadened to TikTok or Snapchat or anything like that. I think we're a little bit too old to know how to use them properly, but maybe we'll get some young blood in, be able to sort that out very soon.
I think TikTok's all about dancing anyway, so I'm just going to concentrate on trying to hit a ball and catch a ball, and I'll let you guys do your shuffles. Margie, must ask you, where did you get that beautiful baseball shirt from? Is it a custom-made garment, or does someone actually sell those?
It is custom made. As a fat middle-aged man, I have a lot of Hawaiian shirts, and this is probably one of the more sedate of the ones. It was actually made by my mother-in-law, who disappeared my favourite shirt. Had no idea where it was for a while, and she had it, and she made it up using the pattern from that. So got her to thank for that one, and my lovely wife as well.
It's glorious.
Fantastic.
So sorry, folks, if you're watching this on YouTube, you won't be able to buy these. It's a one-off. So let's talk about our lovely club. Our history, I say our history, so the Manchester Baseball Club's history goes all the way back to 1947 in its origins. From my research and notes, I've got the chairman was Harry Leach, who fell in love with the game in the 30s. He played for a few London sports clubs, Briggs Brigands, and it are both regarded as some of the top teams in Britain, and was an all-star outfielder and coach. Other names I've mentioned there, we've got Oliver Bull from Quebec. We have George Livesey, Brian Jowett, John Graham, George Pilson, and John Walker. A lot of different people from different backgrounds. And is there any history there that you'd like to take us through?
I don't know, I'll hand over to you on this one.
Me, well, I think we could certainly trace the club's route back to 1947. There's some iteration or other of Manchester Baseball Club But I think even before that, there's baseball was played in this region. I've sent you that couple of pictures of a program that you might want to share after this on Twitter or something, so people
Definitely.
can see. There was a Manchester Red Sox playing a game against Swinton, I believe, or Pendlebury, something like that, in
Just down the road from me,
1939. Yeah,
Swinton
it's
and
not far.
Pendlebury.
I think they played in Nelson, up Salford way. Yeah, so I guess that's the earliest we found. I think that was sent in by a former player for the club, a gentleman called Paul Billington, kindly emailed us that information. So yeah, that's the earliest I can find with anything Manchester baseball related.
Yeah, and
I'm guessing
the team back then was known as the Trafford Saints. Is that right in saying?
that was the first
Incarnation of the Manchester.
Incarnation, yeah, that's the word, of the club. I think that lasted for quite some time. And then it's been Trafford Saints. Manchester Saints was used as one of the youth team names. Recently, we unfortunately don't have a youth team at the moment. But yeah.
I think there was a gap sort of 70 and 90 or something like that of not much baseball being played, and then in the 90s we started with the youth teams again, and then from that developed into full adult baseball as well, around 94ish, if I remember correctly. Again, before my time, I started in 2000, but if I remember correctly, it's 94. I'm sure I'll get trouble from the guys who've been playing the game long years wrong.
So we were talking before that just bringing ourselves a bit closer to home. There's been a few successes within the organisation. Do you want to talk us through any victories, any highlights?
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious one that would stand out would be 2015. We'd actually gone in 2013. We only had one team. We'd contracted down to one team, just due to the amount of players that were playing the game. And then in 2015, we went back up to two teams again. I wasn't the manager at the time. Ian Marchman, long-time player of the club, was the manager at the time. And when we decided we wanted two teams, I put myself forward that I wanted to be the manager of the first team, because I had done it a couple of years before. And we were lucky enough, it was just lightning in a box, I suppose. Everything came together on that one season. I think we went something like 12 games at the beginning of the season, unbeaten, or 12 weekends, or 24 games. And then we started to fall apart a little bit towards the end of the season, but then got it back together for the playoffs. And then after that, we lost quite a lot of players after that season. A couple of guys moved back to Canada, players moving out the area, a couple of players retired, and then we had a couple of years of rebuilding. The following year was a tough year. We got a very, very small squad, and towards the end of that year, I took ill, and I couldn't even make the playoffs. I couldn't travel. And the following, after that year, I decided that was my time to move on, and Johnny Creelman took over the side. And Johnny's done a really good job with the side, because, again, very small squads. Often each season we end up as the A's team being in either AA or AAA, and we end up bringing in players who've never played the game before, playing at AAA or AA standard. So, I mean, that in itself, I think, is impressive. That is one of the more, or the biggest successes personally of the club, is we're making players who've never played the game and bringing them through with enough training and practice and giving them knowledge of the game that they can straight away go into either AAA or AA. The main thing that we had, both myself and Johnny, is that everybody plays. So if you come down to the game as a rookie, you will play in the game at some point. We try and give everybody as much game time as we can, because you don't get better unless you play. So I think the biggest pluses that I would say for Manchester is that we encourage people to play. As much as everyone likes winning trophies and so on, we're trying to grow the sport in the area. We're trying to make it bigger. We're trying to get the group of players to be bigger as well. We want to encourage people to play. And I'm sure it's exactly the same in the Bees. Having not played many Bees games, I've started a couple of times, dropped down into the minors, I guess you call it. But yeah, I played a couple of times. But I would always, when I drop down, I always say to the manager, play the regular guys. If you need me, I'll go in there. And I think that's the philosophy throughout the club, to be honest. Yeah. I'm hoping Adam will back me up there.
Yeah, certainly. That's what the Bees are all about, really, isn't it? It's a development squad. Everyone gets to play. We don't want people to be disillusioned when they come to start with us. We want people to get some game time, enjoy it. It'd be a bit annoying if everyone turned up and then it was just the same old people playing every game and you're just sat on the bench.
I think the skill comes from that as well, because you build in a unit of people who enjoy playing together. They know they're not going to be disillusioned. They're going to enjoy the time there, and it brings you together. Yeah. Brings you together, team. And I think that's what's happened with what Johnny's done over the last couple of years. He's built it up from a ragtag and bobtail kind of thrown together side, and he's got them playing together as a team.
Definitely much more unity now in the two teams. There's a core of people that have been there for a few years, and then some great rookies like yourself, Matt, coming in over the last few years, and just adding to the depth of the squads, and really boosting the club in the last couple of years.
Yeah, the team. Well, if we go all the way back to its incarnation, has had some incredible players, as we touched on before, like Wally O'Neill, who was an electrical engineer that was recruited into the team in the Saints, who was in the Hall of Fame. Who do you think are some of the standout players that we've got at the moment? And you don't have to blow smoke. I know I'm not going to make this list. So
preempted my answer then.
I think in our squad at the minute, we've got a very solid base in the A's. Exactly the same in the Bs, in fact. You've got a mixture in the Bs of veterans and rookies. You've got some players that are quite happy playing at the level they're at, and they don't really aspire to set the world alight. They're enjoying playing their baseball, and that's a good thing. I've said to my skipper, I've said, if you want me to drop down to give other people a go, happily do it. It doesn't make a difference to me which team I'm playing, as long as I'm playing baseball. But I think we've had a lot of good players in my era in the first team. Probably stand out. I mean, Johnny Creelman himself in the championship season as our starting pitcher had. I'm sure I'll get in trouble now, but I think he went something like 14-1 over the year, something like that as a pitcher, which is really impressive. For someone who's not a fireballer as well, who locates his pitches, really impressive. And I think we've picked up individual players over the time we've been around. I think historically, probably one of our better players over the last 7-8 years has been Dave Gaskell, a catcher for our 2015 winning team. Retired from the game, unfortunately, but as a young guy, he probably could still. I mean, he's got 20 years on me. He could probably still be the game at a decent standard. Adam for the Bees.
Bees
on the cusp of coming up.
The greatness. There's been a couple of players over the last couple of years that have been really consistent and just improved year after year. From the time I've seen the last couple of years, Rick, who's been pitching. He's been around the club for a long time, but he's kind of shouldered a lot of responsibility for the Bees as a starting pitcher. And then you've got people improving like Ben, who's a great hitter, and also is dabbling in pitching, and he's had some great performances, certainly last year. Who else? We like the hit by pitch machine, Dave Gould.
There's a club legend there. Absolute
Yeah, he's
legend.
absolute legend. A great guy and a great baseball player who takes one for the team quite literally every time he steps up to the plate.
I've seen him in training do it.
Oh yeah.
I think opposition teams think we don't like him because when he gets hit, there's a big cheer comes up from our bench, and I think other teams might don't like him, but it's just what he does. He gets on base.
Gets on base, and he can steal too for a slightly older gentleman, shall we say.
Yeah.
He's still got his legs, that's for sure. I was looking forward to seeing a lot of players this year, a lot of the rookies. Unfortunately, not seen any yet, so I can't comment. But yeah, those three guys have been really great, and just made the club a pleasure to be a part of as well. Nice guys.
Indeed, yeah. It's one thing I noticed before I even started playing was how welcoming the whole squad is. I mean, it's been documented on the show numerous times about how I came down to just watch the MLB series in London last year, or this time last year, I think it would have been, just from being that welcome into the fold. And so it resulted in me ended up doing a podcast. It's snowballed, as we said, off air into something I never even dreamed of or imagined. So there's a really great group of people involved in the team, and I was devastated when it and it's like every week I was just hoping it wasn't one of those, this is the last practice, this is the last practice, this is the last practice. And to the fact that we got as many training sessions in as we did, I really am missing it personally. It's because I've never played a game. It's just being part of that setup that I'm really missing the most. I think just the general chat and banter and just being about the place and the people and the sport. Yeah, it kind of just brings out the best in others.
Yeah, it's
sorry, Adam, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, it's like as I've said, I think before, it's the ultimate team sport. It's like you can't win on your own. There's very few players that can do that, but like just the camaraderie and stuff is just great. That's the best thing about it, and what we miss the most.
It is, yeah. I wouldn't say I'm happy to have this rest, but certainly as a 47-year-old man, my body might be in a better state physically for when the season does potentially start.
You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself there, Margie.
Well, I know, yeah, but I know I play in a hockey league over the winter, and we didn't get to finish our league, so I've had longer to sort of rest than I've had probably in 30 years, something like that, away from playing sport. So,
did you play cricket as well?
Yeah, I play cricket as well on a Saturday. Yeah.
Bad man.
So what seems to be the plans for the future for Manchester Baseball Club? We talked earlier about recruiting more people in. What's your vision for taking the team forward and getting more bodies in for the doors?
I think, John Eaton, our head coach, and the Bees manager, he's doing a really good job. He goes out in the schools. He goes out teaching as part of the PE curriculums at primary schools. So he's sowing the seed all the time there in the local area. There are BSUK have their coaching team going around in Manchester as well, led by Luis Arevalagas, former A's player, former A's first baseman. I'd like to say I edged him out, but he retired. As far as the youngsters are going, it's the way forward. It is the way forward. You can't have a team without a youth side, and John's very, very instrumental in getting that youth side together. We have got some youth players that come down and do training, and they play 2 or 3 tournaments over the year, and they'll mix in with other teams who are maybe not got enough players or whatever it may be. But there isn't a league set up in the north at the minute for the juniors. I think that's the direction we need to be looking at. But there's nothing to stop a 45-year-old man turning up and playing next season who's never played the game before. It doesn't make a difference how perceived good or bad you are at sport. This is a great sport for anybody because you don't have to be great at everything. I am probably the slowest baseball player out there across 60 feet, 90 feet. There's nobody will argue with that, but I can hit. Okay, I don't have to be the greatest fielder because my bat's in the lineup. Plenty of players, light hitters, but they can field like demons. That's why this sport's so good. It was 2 years ago when Altuve and Judge were the MVPs. One of them's 5'5", and the other one's almost 7 feet tall. Totally different physical specimens, but they both fit into the sport. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. It's a great sport to play because of that. It's so inclusive.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a 90-mile-an-hour fastball either. You can hide at first base like I do. So, but I think, as far as the club goes, we need to concentrate on keeping 2 senior teams, and we need to concentrate on getting those juniors through because, like I said, I'm old. I'll be retiring eventually. You don't go on forever, and we need those youngsters coming through.
Yeah, we got to let me. Not too far off, Margie. We just need to keep young people interested, keep them coming back. That's the key. Like you said, it's a sport for anyone, whether that be male, female, whoever. But I know now the women will have their own league set up in the UK, which is an amazing development. Like,
yeah, it's
blew me
fantastic.
away that when I heard about it last week or the week before. So we'll still welcome anyone, really, whoever wants to play. John is kind of got his fingers in lots of pies at the moment with going to schools and the blind British baseball stuff that he does for people, with disabilities, sight disabilities, which is an incredible thing to watch and see develop. So he'll be concentrating on that, I imagine, coming up in the next few years. Last year he took the team over to Rome to compete in a tournament, and they did very well for their first appearance. So there's all sorts of things going on. We just need to keep people interested, whether that's recruitment drives online or in person. We'll be doing that over the next however long we'll be there.
I think another thing that we've tried to do is we've tried to make sure that the facilities are there for the players, as in the playing facilities. We're always looking to develop our field. Have you been down to the actual ground yet, Matt?
Yeah, I cycled to it a couple of weeks ago. Took me a while.
Oh, yes. I remember you saying it. But if you go down there, it's all built by us. The council didn't get involved. They went, there's a field, do with it what you will. And we've put it up all ourselves. So to backstops, the fencing, the netting, all the line marking, the grass cutting we do ourselves. One of the bugbears of most people in this league is that every time you turn up, you've got to put an outfield fencing of every single game. And then at the end of the game, when you played a double header of 5, maybe 6 hours of baseball, you've then got to go and take it all back down. And these are things we need to work towards, making these things more permanent so that it's not so much of a chore. It should be an enjoyment playing this game. And we need to improve our facilities. And unfortunately, that comes with money. Something that, as a club this year, we probably won't be as flush, same as everybody else, because of not playing. If people aren't playing, people aren't paying. So we need to maybe look at maybe local sponsorships, see if we can get somebody interested in putting some permanent sponsorships on our fences or whatever it may be. So if there's anybody out there that's interested, get in touch.
Yeah, we'll take your money, no problem.
Yeah.
And on that note as well, 2 of the lads from the Bees, Sam and Andy, very talented guys, will be working on some merch. So watch this space. We'll be able to raise some money through some of that.
Yep, sounds good to me. Just touching back on the youth team slightly, what age are the youths of Manchester allowed to join training?
I had an email from a lady quite recently who wanted to bring down a 3-year-old kid, which I thought was too young. But I asked John, and he said, "Yeah, we've had 3-year-old before, as long as the parents come with them." keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
No problem. So I guess any age.
Awesome. So I guess that goes out there. If you're listening to this show and you want to get your son or daughter involved in baseball, always email or reach out to the club first, see what their youth policy setup is, and then see how you can get involved that way. So about to come to the end of the show. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for enlightening me with some history and some knowledge. Is there anything you'd like to talk about before we go? I'd like to leave the last word open to the guest. So any shout outs, any bits we might have missed off that you want to mention before we part ways?
Just looking forward to getting back out on the field, to be honest, in whatever form it's going to be. I know I've been talking with the league committee as well, and we had a meeting this week. And we're just tied at the minute. We can't do anything until the government lets us do, really. The problem at Manchester at the minute is we can't go on the field because the council won't let us, and we can't go into our indoor facilities because they're not open.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure there are some of the guys out there who, in the last week or so, started to throw around in pairs and so on as the restrictions have been relaxed. I know a couple of other clubs have started doing the same sort of thing. But let's just look forward to whatever season we're going to get.
Yeah, indeed.
We'll hopefully get something in, yeah.
Yeah. Adam, any final words from yourself?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing everyone in 3D. That'd be nice. Hopefully in a few weeks. A couple of plugs, obviously. We can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Mank Baseball. And Brian, who's been working on our website, newly revamped, that's www.manchesterbaseballclub.co.uk.
Great stuff. Lovely. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I will hopefully see you all soon for some more fun quizzes. If anyone's up for it on the usual Mondays, I'm retired after winning one. I'm now out, so
Good idea.
100% victory rate. But again, thank you very much for joining me on today's show. It's been a pleasure, and I'll chat to you all soon.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks,
nice.
Cheers. Take care. Bye bye.